The AccountingLink for Xero utility is a bridge between Corcon and Xero's online accounting system. This link utility eliminates duplicate data entry and maintains consistency across your organization. This is the third video in a series of 4. In the first video, we showed what to do to set up your Xero accounting software in preparation for the connection between Corcon and Xero. The second video addressed the settings in Corcon that you'd want to consider before connecting the Corcon link to Xero. In this training video, we're going to show how to set up the sync preferences. These are the rules, for the most part, that determine how information flows and where information flows from Corcon to Xero. We also mentioned in the first 2 videos a decision that you would need to make before you can take this next step. That is the decision in how items will be detailed in your Xero subscription. Xero uses inventory items to determine the GL accounts when the data is moved from Corcon to Xero. Corcon also provides a spreadsheet in CSV format that you can use to import these items into Xero without having to manually enter them. The knowledge base article has several suggestions. The one I'm going to show is very similar to the one that says CSI 2016 format, divisions, and majors. There's a couple things to remember before you do this. You do need to maintain that file format, CSV. You will not be doing the following, that is renaming the column headings in the first row, delete any of the columns, or move any of the columns. We are going to be addressing the purchase account and sales account columns in the spreadsheet and filling those in with the chart of account numbers. You do not want to put any GL account numbers in the columns that say inventory asset account or cost of goods sold account. Please leave these blank. I've already started preparing that spreadsheet or import template, and I've already filled in the GL account numbers. I'm using the CSV file format, and the CSI codes I'm using are the CSI 2016. One of the differences in Xero than other accounting software that we integrate with is you do not separate the divisions and the majors, which are 2 different tiers of detail. I could have very easily, instead of using these cost codes as these service items, I could have also just had 5 materials, labor, equipment, subcontract, other, and in that case you'd have 5 different GL accounts for the purchase account. I'm using 1 purchase account and 1 sales account for the entire import. I've also included an item I've called CCUNC, and that is the Corcon unclassified item. If your Xero imports data but does not recognize the cost code, it will put it into this item. So it still will import. It's just put into basically a holding item that you'll be able to go back and address later. I've also created an item called retention. This could very easily be called holdback. Notice that the GL accounts are different for these 2. The purchases account references a retainage payable, which is a current liability on your chart of accounts. The retention receivable uses a retention receivable GL account, which is a current asset on your chart of accounts. Once you have this ready, simply save it and close it. Remember that Xero limits the number of imported line items for service items to 1,000. So I also have addressed that in my import template. Now I'm going to go back. I already have an item open, just so you can see where this information will be imported to. The code number, or cost code in this case, the purchases section, which is using a cost of goods sold or direct cost account in the purchase account field, and the sell section under the sales account is a revenue or income account. Next, I'm going to follow the instructions in that knowledge base article under importing CSI and NHB codes into Xero. These instructions are found at the bottom. So in Xero, we're going to go to the Business tab and then select products and services. We're going to click import and then select items. You do have a sample download template here, but Corcon has already provided these and already filled in some of the information. And under the upload items, we're going to click on select file. I now have the option to drag and drop the file into the rectangle or click select file and pull that in from my file browser. I'm going to drag and drop that right there. I can now see that the file has already been accepted, and then I'll click next. In my case, an import summary has popped up and pointed out that I have 3 codes that I have previously used, which I expected, and that some of the descriptions in the items were longer than 50 characters, so that those descriptions will be truncated. And then I'll click complete import. Now I can see the items have been imported. I'm going to open one just as an example to show you what information was imported. We have the purchase account, which in this case was cost of goods sold, a sales account, and the descriptions. I also want to see the retention item since it was a little different. I'm going to go to the bottom. Notice I have the items set to 200 per view. I'm going to go to the last one. Since the code number wasn't a number, it's going to sort to the bottom. I'm just going to open that retention item to show that the retainage payable is showing up as a purchase. The retainage receivable is showing up as a sales account. I'm going to leave my Xero accounting software subscription open on this tab. Now we'll go back to Corcon. Another reminder from on the profile option, scroll down and make sure that the external applications being used next to accounting system is set to 0. You may need to click save. Now we want to set up the sync preferences. Again, these are the types of rules for the most part that are going to determine where information is imported into Xero and to which GL accounts. Once you have selected the accounting software Xero, you should see an icon at the bottom of your main menu called AccountingLink. I'm going to click that. Now, if this is the first time you've connected, you're going to see this option to connect to Xero. Simply click that and use the login information just like you would be logging into Xero, and click Allow Access. Usually you won't need to do that again. You only need to do that on the first time. Now we come to the AccountingLink for Xero home view. We're going to be dealing specifically with the sync preferences in this video. The 4th video in the series will actually deal with the sync process and some of the advanced sync settings. So we're going to click Sync Preferences, and we're going to cover all 5 tabs. The first tab is the contact management. You have the option to let Corcon prevail or Xero prevail, but we're going to choose the Use Last Modified. This is going to check to make sure that company information matches, specifically address and phone number. Same for employees. If you make an edit to an employee address or phone number in Corcon, it'll prompt you to make the same change in Xero and vice versa. So we're going to leave those as recommended. Next, we're going to go to accounts payable. So for AP transaction export status, we're going to use export as draft and set that to yes. We're going to set up a default bank account. That would be the account that you use to pay vendors, suppliers, subcontractors. The job cost code linking, we're going to use the CCUNC as the default AP item. That's the clearing item we discussed. And then for the job cost code link options, we're going to use the auto link AP item based on job cost code, exact match only. There is an option to match the description, but we recommend that you use the job cost code exact match only. Also, I could have alternatively used the cost resource or cost type MLESO, materials, labor, equipment, subcontract, other, as long as I had 5 service items or inventory items set up, and those inventory items had their own direct cost GL account number, this would have been an option as well. We're going to use the exact match only. Next is the build type linking. If there's no type identified, which is the most common, we're going to export to bills. That's telling Xero the offsetting entry is going to be accounts payable. The optional bill types that I have set up, I also want those to export to accounts payable as the credit entry. AP vendor. The one that's different is the corporate credit card. And I'm going to switch this to export as a bank transaction. Some of our subscribers choose to enter corporate credit card charges as bills, just using that type of entry form. So we're going to go ahead and set that bank account to equate to the credit card account setup. The equipment supplier invoice, again, is optional. Export to bills. Manual checks, we're going to actually export that one to a bank transaction, and we're going to select whichever bank that checkbook is related to. That's also optional. Professional services and consulting, export as bills, so the offsetting entry is accounts payable. Next, we're going to go to miscellaneous expenses. Some, instead of entering credit cards as bills, prefer to enter them as miscellaneous expenses, which is the method we recommend. American Express, we're going to export that as a bank transaction, and we're going to select the Amex card as that bank. Debit card would be a export to a bank account as well, but in this case, we're going to select the checking that that bank card is associated with. If you're going to be reimbursing employees for out-of-pocket expenses, you want to set these as an export as a bank transaction and select the default bank account you'd use to pay those employees. Next is the sub-invoice retainage. We want to show retainage, and we also want to select the inventory item for that we set up in the import. We'll select that for both. I'm going to click Save. Next, we're going to go to the Accounts Receivable tab. Export as draft, we're going to select Yes. The job cost code linking, we're also going to select the clearing item. The job cost code link options, we're going to use job cost code exact match only. The prime invoice retainage, we want to show retainage, and we're going to select that retainage item that we imported. And then the prime invoice memo field, this is the short description you're going to see on check stubs. So I'm going to just select a simple one there, but you have some other options. I'm going to click Save again. Now we're going to go to tracking categories. We're choosing not to use them. And then tax codes, these have all imported from Xero. So now we need to go through and match each one of these to its own Xero tax code, which I'm going to skip for now, and click Save and Close. Now all your sync preferences are set up and ready to go.